The intention for this episode, as short as it's going to be, is to hopefully give you a sense by the end of it that you're doing great. To hopefully put a stop to those little voices in your head that you're not getting there fast enough, you're not doing enough, you haven't seen the results enough, it's all just not happening quick enough. What I want to share with you today, in this probably the shortest episode I've ever done, is the power of commitment and persistence, and ultimately patience. Now, patience is not something I even pretend to have a lot of. I really don't. I want everything like yesterday. And when I was sort of diving into the early stages of sort of personal development and growth, I remember listening to my mentor on his podcast, James, and he would be talking to people who would share on his podcast that, I just kept doing the work and it's all worked out for me. And I remember getting so frustrated sometimes thinking, but I'm doing the work. I'm doing the mindset work. I am peeling back the layers. I am meditating. I am using my sage. I've got crystals everywhere. And I'm doing the hard graft as well. I am following the steps. I've got the strategy. I've got the vision board. I've got all the things. I'm doing everything. Why hasn't it happened for me yet? And I want to share with you that if you're feeling that way right now, the best piece of advice or guidance, if you like, or just sharing from my own experience is just take one step at a time, but don't ever stop. It can feel so frustrating sometimes when you feel like you've been doing all the things and in the outer reality, you're just not seeing the results that you want. You're not seeing the income that you want. It might be that this can be in your personal life as well. Maybe you've got some health goals that you're just not reaching. And we talked on a previous episode with my friend Laura Husson about how, that really comes down to subconscious transformation. And there are some amazing routes to do that. Hypnotherapy is definitely a great one to go for if you want to look into that, because there will be underlying reasons why potentially you're sabotaging your success, which you're not even aware of. But on the surface level, just keep going. I used to think that I would never get there. I would never get the success that I wanted. I could never make this, in quotation marks, a proper business to support me and my family. But it's happened. It has happened. And you know what? I didn't really notice it when it happened, because we are so focused sometimes on the gap, what we haven't got, the gap between where we are now and what we want in the future, that I hadn't realized that gap had got a lot smaller. And actually I had got to the point where my business was doing exactly what I wanted it to do. All the visions that I'd had for myself had actually come into fruition. And yes, I've got big goals, and yes, I've got a bigger vision for the long-term future. But the confidence and the clarity and the sense of peace that I now have, that's going to come to fruition, it's almost like I just believe it's done. Like it's just a matter of time now. As I grow into the person that I can be and the person that I see in the future, I just trust that it's happening. And you may be listening to this going, yes, okay, well, that's all well and good, but your reality is not showing up to where you want to be. And maybe you are still in that kind of sticky, wading through treacle feeling at the moment. The best thing that you can do is commit to something and take action towards it. Now, as a perfect example in the world of business, my podcast is an example of that. For ages, oh my gosh, so long, I wanted to set up a podcast and I didn't do it. So many fears, like who might have a podcast? For some reason, a podcast seemed like a really big thing. Like, I'll jump on an IGTV, no worries, but talking on a podcast seemed like it was a big, grown-up, proper thing to do. So I procrastinated, put it off, sabotaged the whole thing so many times. And then it finally got to, I think it was November 2019, I think it was, where I was just like, that's it. I'm doing a podcast, and I just launched the thing. And I didn't even do a proper launch. I just recorded an episode. And I committed to myself that I would record an episode every week. And I stuck to it eventually. Did I sabotage it at the beginning? Yes, absolutely. I let the little voices in my head say, oh, you're not good enough to do this. What are you going to talk about? Blah, blah, blah. Who's going to listen? It's going to be rubbish. I can't do this. Comparing myself to amazing people who already have podcasts. Oh my gosh, what's the point? They're doing it already. All the things came up for me. But once I got into that flow and I actually stuck with committing to putting an episode out every single week, I'm now on I think this is episode 36. And I can say that I have committed to that and I have started to see the results. But the biggest result, like forget the amount of people that are now listening to this and therefore becoming part of my audience, are joining my email list, all the great things that a podcast can do for your business. Forgetting even that, I have shown myself that once I set my mind on something and I commit to something, I see it through. And my darling, that is really powerful. If you can do that in your business, I cannot tell you how much that will affect you, because it may be that if you're in that, like I said, that awful like wading through treacle stage of your business where you just feel like you're not getting the momentum quick enough, because we're all a bit impatient when we have starting our business. Plus in the world of online business, oh my gosh, a week feels like a year, right? Like it just seems like you think you've been doing this forever, and then you look back and you're like, oh, actually it's only been a couple of years. But if you're in that stage, quite often that frustration comes from, and that fear that it's never going to happen comes from you're just not seeing the results you want. And you may be telling yourself you're just not that person that's ever going to reach your goals. You're not that person that's ever going to achieve the levels of success that you want. Start with being really committed. If you're really honest with yourself, have you set yourself goals or targets, or, forget even, whether it's a monetary goal or something like that, but whether you said, I'm going to write a book, I am going to start a podcast, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, whatever it might be, in those inspired moments when you're like, wow, that would make a big difference in my business. Have you done it? Have you actually followed through on that inspired idea that you know will make a difference in your business? Or have you tried it for a few weeks and went, oh, I tried a YouTube channel, it didn't work, it didn't make me millions in the first few months, so I quit. So I know that's a bit of an extreme example, but we all do this. We get frustrated that results aren't manifesting in our reality quick enough. But when you commit and you show that you can keep going and that you are resilient and you have got that inner strength to keep going, taking one step at a time, you end up proving to yourself that you are the person that is committed to your goals. You are the person that is going to have that inevitable success that you see for yourself in the future. So I really, really want you to stay focused, have that vision, hold that vision in your mind, and stay committed to what you want to work on. And I'll give you one last example, because this happened literally a few days ago. I haven't really, like, the whole visualizing thing, I love it. Do it. I enjoy it. I kind of, see myself in my lovely new house and, with my 6-pack back. And I don't know if that's ever going to manifest, but I'm working on it. And so you have all these sort of lovely things that you visualize for yourself in the future. One of the things that I really, really wanted, and I started the process last year, was getting a brace. I really wanted to get a brace, get myself that Hollywood smile. Us Brits don't have the best teeth, do we? So I was like, right, I need to sort out these 80s child teeth. So that was something I really wanted. But I knew I didn't want to put it on a credit card. I didn't want to rely on anyone else to pay for it. The dentist was like, hey, just put it on credit. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to pay for this cash. And I visualized paying for this. A brace is not a cheap little dental treatment. These are quite substantial costs for an amazing brace. So I visualized myself going into that dentist office and paying with my debit card, with the money that I had, without any fear of like, oh gosh, this is a big expense, oh, this is is this a bit indulgent, this is so frivolous just to want to have a Hollywood smile. So is this going to be too frivolous? I visualized walking into the dentist completely calm and excited and happy about giving my dentist practice thousands of pounds. And it happened. Okay, it happened without any fear or sense of, oh my goodness, I shouldn't spend this, because I had visualized it and I had already seen it happen. And the exciting thing is it was really exactly how I visualized. Like, I've never actually had that experience of where I've visualized something and it is manifested exactly as I saw it in my future. And, you know, I was supposed to do this just before lockdown. And, you know, obviously everything locked down, so I couldn't get my braces. But it was on Tuesday, I think I went in and happily put in my debit card, punched in my PIN. And I remember thinking, my goodness, this is it. It's happened. This is exactly as I wanted it to be. And I've never spent that much money on something for myself and not felt a little bit of a tinge of guilt. But it happened. And this is exactly what I just want you to really grasp, is that if you can see that beautiful, amazing future for yourself, it is already done. You just need to take the action, the inspired action. You know, this isn't about hustling your socks off and working really hard all the time, but taking that inspired action and trusting that you can do this. Everyone that's listening to this, if you're even listening to this podcast, you absolutely can smash your goals. You can create and live and be the person you see in your future. You absolutely can, because you wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you didn't have that in you already. And who is going to listen to a business podcast or, you know, follow other coaches or leaders or do all the things that you're doing right now if it wasn't inevitable, if your success was not inevitable? If you can see it clearly in your mind and you know what you want, please be patient. It's coming. Okay, and I know it feels so frustrating. As I said at the beginning of this episode, I've been there. I have shouted at my Google Home going, I don't want to listen to this anymore because I'm doing all the work. Everyone just keeps telling me, oh, it's an inner work. You know, something clicks and it shifts and it moves and you just realize one day that it's possible. And I'm like, but when? When's this going to happen? It will happen, but you need to keep shifting the way you think. You need to keep shifting the boundaries, moving outside your comfort zone. If business is, you know, really, really simple and easy for you, great. But ask yourself, are you stepping to another level? Because it's very easy to get complacent. And when we're complacent in our business, we're not necessarily stepping up to that next level, which is going to move us closer to living the life of our dreams. So I hope that has just given you a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of motivation. You are doing amazingly. As I said, if you're taking the steps and you're doing the work, if you're here listening to this, you are doing the work. You are taking those steps. So just please keep going. Be patient. It will happen, and it will happen sooner than you think. Just stay committed, stay persistent, and your vision will soon become a reality. Take care, my gorgeous ones. Until the next episode, have an amazing week. Thank you for listening to the Focused and Fearless podcast. If you'd like to continue the conversation or have a question that you would like answered in an upcoming episode, head over to Instagram and connect with me at Heather Angel Coaching. If you enjoy this podcast, please share your thoughts in a review on iTunes. I truly value your feedback and I take the time to read every single review. Have a beautiful week and I'll see you in the next episode.